It's that time of year. Sweatpants are in season and comfort food is king. To me, few things will ever be more comforting than a big old bowl of tender, succulent meat and potatoes. Enter this perfect pot roast. Who doesn't love a one-pot meal that feeds a crowd? Alright, to begin, we're going to put about half a cup of flour down on a plate, and I've got a large chuck roast here. You want one in the 4-pound range. A little more, a little less will be just fine for the proportions that are in the recipe written down below. We're going to go very generously coat all sides of our roast in the flour. Knock off any excess once you're done with that. And then you're going to get your largest pot. It is a pot roast after all. And add in 3 or 4 tablespoons of oil. Could go olive oil or just regular cooking oil here. And brown that pot roast on all sides for 4 to 5 minutes or until it gets a nice crust. This is going to help ensure we get a nice flavor going there in our pot. Once you've got it nice and colored on both sides, go ahead and pull it out and add in 3 to 4 stalks of celery that have been chopped up and 2 or 3 carrots that have been chunked up into bite-sized cubes, as well as 1 white or yellow onion. Season that up very generously with salt and pepper and sweat that out in the oil for 5 to 7 minutes or until the onions are just starting to soften. You can also use any water that they release to start to scrape up the fond in the bottom of the pot. In order to get the rest of it, we're going to add in 1.5 cups of a good red wine and a couple tablespoons of soy sauce. That's for extra added umami and depth of flavor. We're also going to drop in 4 or 5 garlic cloves. No need to slice or chop them up. This is going to cook so low and slow they're going to get nice and soft and just melt into the sauce. We're also going to add in 1.5 cups of good quality chicken stock, a few sprigs of fresh thyme, and a sprig of fresh rosemary. Again, no need to pull those off the stems. They're going to fall off while this braises, and then we can just pull the stems out later. Final bit of liquid and ingredients goes in with a 28-ounce can of whole peeled tomatoes in their juice. Stir all of that to combine, bring it up to a simmer. And then we're going to lay our roast back in, and we want to kind of submerge it, get it underneath all of that liquid so that it can retain moisture and get nice and juicy while it slowly braises. Which we are going to do in an oven set to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Let it go for 2 to 2.5 hours. At that point, we can check on it. It's not going to be all the way done yet. It's going to be about 2/3 of the way there. So now is a perfect time to add in some potatoes. I'm going in with about 1 pound of baby red potatoes. I like to keep them whole in the skin. They hold their shape better that way, but you could chop them up if you wanted them in bite-sized pieces. At this point, we're going to season with more salt and pepper because the potatoes definitely will need it. Plus, we didn't season our beef to begin with, just the veg. At this point, we're going to leave the lid off and kind of get that meat up on top of the vegetables and potatoes. 1, so that the potatoes can cook through in the liquid, and 2, so that after another hour to 90 minutes, we're going to have a wonderfully colored piece of beef. So we seared it to get some color and then cooked it with the lid off for the final hour to hour and a half to get that nice, deep, mahogany, rich, beefy color. At this point, we'll go ahead and set that pot roast aside and continue to simmer that liquid for as long as you'd like to reduce it. You could also use a cornstarch slurry to thicken it up into gravy, but I like it relatively thin. So really all we need to do is just simmer it away and pull out those rosemary and thyme stalks. And then again, just reduce it to your preference or thicken it up with a cornstarch slurry. We'll go ahead and slice this pot roast, and for me, perfect pot roast texture is where it's just on the border of shredding, but you can still slice it into nice pieces. You can see it's just shredding right there at the edge, but still holding its shape. If you cook it a little bit longer, it gets to where it just totally shreds, and if that's your preference, go for it. But for me, this was just perfect. Alright. I'm going to plate this up in a bowl with some rice. Yep, that's right, even more carbs, but you got to have something to soak up all that wonderful gravy or sauce that we've got so many great flavors in, from the long simmered veggies and all the beef juices, the tomatoes. Yeah, you definitely want something to soak all that up, even if you just use a piece of bread, but rice is my vehicle of choice. We're going to ladle up some of that sauce, get a couple potatoes, some veggies with our pot roast, and because I had it in the fridge, I'm going to garnish with a little bit of cilantro. Parsley would be great, and of course, green onions would be amazing as well. So I just love how sweet and soft these carrots get after several hours in that braising liquid. Man, so comforting. And of course, that's the healthy part of this, but we're going to go ahead and get a big old piece of this nice, rich, fatty, unctuous beef. Most of the fat is rendered out, and now it's just tender, juicy, so richly flavored due to that nice color on top and the soy sauce and all the other umami flavors like tomatoes we added. Oh, these potatoes, they soak up all that liquid as well. They're soft, but have a nice little bite to them. And oh, they're also like really hot when they come right out of the pot, so be advised. Anyways, hope you'll make this. It's a great comfort food dish for a cold winter's night. Thanks for watching. Now you go and make something delicious.